Big Pharma has the best marketing department in the world. You simply pay professionals, doctors, professors, psychiatrists, to report that the study showed positive results. You're paying them. You're buying science, checkbook science.
Wow, yeah, it's a security vehicle.
Is it a security vehicle for Eli Lilly?
Probably.
That's the
Oh,
question.
you cannot turn right. Go through here, I guess.
Eli Lilly's yes, this is the security for Eli Lilly.
Wow.
And here's all the people that
All
work
these
here.
scumbags work for these pieces of dog crap.
Yeah. Wow. Let's film as we go around. Eli Lilly Security. Wow. Eli Lilly and Company. Hello, smile, you're a piece of shit. The smoke is coming out from the ground at Eli Lilly. Smoke out of the ground, fire in the sky. Wow, Lilly across the street. This whole thing is Lilly.
Yeah.
This is all Eli Lilly too. Wow.
So that's parking for the...
Oh yeah, drivers must remain in your vehicle to obtain whatever to the gates of Eli Hell. Is that a DNA spiral? There's no medicine like hope. Ugh. Good night. Organic chemical development. Sustainability garden. The Lilly Sustainability Garden. Wow. And they got like chemical symbols and more DNA symbols.
They're the major employer of this whole town. All these people are Lilly on work break, most likely.
Yes, hi. You guys probably also suck. Eli Lilly.
Very likely.
Shame on that place. Shame, shame. Eli Lilly, that's what that entire complex is. We drove through Indianapolis, Indiana, and went straight to the heart of the beast. The very place that had the gall to put a writer in the Patriot Act to their lobbyists for immunity from prosecution for the effects of thimerosal and its connections to autism, to hide it through their Bush administration lobbyists. The very company that patented thimerosal in the late 20s, 75 years later, still trying to cover up their tracks.
We're talking about why they're putting mercury in vaccinations and why it's never been tested since 1929 when Lilly developed it. Mr. Egan, has thimerosal ever been tested by our health agencies?
It's been only there were those early tests that you know of that were done by Lilly.
You know how they even got that stuff cleared? There was only one human trial on thimerosal. One. Way back in the day. 22 people who were fighting meningitis, who were dying anyway, and they shot them up with a very high solution, 1% of thimerosal. And they all died within 24 hours. And then they turned around and said, it wasn't the thimerosal. Thimerosal's fine. That's the kind of sick crap that goes on over there.
In 1929, they tested this on 27 people that were dying of meningitis. All of those people died of meningitis, and so they said there was no correlation between their death and the mercury in the vaccines. That is the only test that's ever been done on thimerosal that I know of. Can you think of any other?
No, in people, no.
And still today trying to deny any and all links.
Mr. Egan, can you say to me right now that that amount of mercury being injected into a baby will not hurt it?
It's impossible to make those categorical statements of 100%.
That's right. That's what I wanted to say.
Scientific endeavor.
So it is possible that the amount of mercury that's being injected, even in trace amounts, could damage a child neurologically, right?
I don't think it has that capacity. No.
And use their money and influence to cover their ass while they hurt children, families, and destroy untold lives. That's your Bush administration. That's why we have a Quayle vice presidency. Their family has major shares in Eli Lilly. George H.W. Bush got a job there after he left the CIA. When George H.W. Bush stepped down as director of the CIA in 1977, he took a job as board of directors for Eli Lilly, and it was rumored he got his job from the Quayle family, who have extensive ties to the pharmaceutical giant. Dan Quayle comes from big money, with his grandfather Eugene Pulliam, a hugely successful publishing magnate who owned dozens of newspapers, while his uncle William Murphy was Eli Lilly's top Washington, D.C. lobbyist for more than a decade. As vice president, Quayle would head the Council on Competitiveness, formed in 1989 to fast-track the approval of drugs and genetically modified organisms, both of which Lilly produce, and clear hurdles that allowed Eli Lilly to dump waste despite violations of the EPA Clean Water Act. And of course, there have been countless other scandals over the years for Eli Lilly, with several of their drugs being blamed for people's deaths, and questions raised about the ethics of their drug trials, marketing, and accountability when it came to the many controversial issues.
Oh, and don't forget Prozac. They also started that. They're the ones who patented Prozac. So, damaging brains for decades and decades.
And
right
all
there.
the other questionable ingredients that have been used on people, but don't expect any justice. Every politician you've ever heard of from the state and federal government level came from Eli Lilly in one way or another. If they didn't work there, they were lobbyists for them, or they worked for a lobbyist or an employee of that company. They own this state. They own Indiana, and I guess they own your children too. So
These drug companies that I was interviewing with had no problem telling me, look, we design drugs based on treating symptoms. We don't cure. That allows you to give a drug to a person for life. The next level of drug advertising is inventing disease. With psychiatric medications, you can invent diseases all day long.
even after Prozac's patent ran out, Eli Lilly repackaged it, gave it a new name, and marketed it towards women suffering from a newly coined post-menstrual syndrome that many doctors believe doesn't even exist.
At least 125,000 people dying every year from prescription drugs. You would think that you'd spend more in research to try to offset the death toll. No, keep going with marketing. Market, market, market. Hypnotize the masses.
I'm sorry, there's like a sinking, creeping feeling because of understanding what they've done.